Hey Bucs fans, welcome to the FSW Coaches Show here at Florida Southwestern State College. I'm Sports Information Director Roy Allen, joined on the show this week by men's basketball assistant coach Kente Hart. Coach, how you doing this week?
Doing great.
Coach, big news dropped on Friday. Number 1 Gonzaga and number 6 Kansas will be opening the college basketball season right here in Suncoast Credit Union Arena on your home floor. Talk about how big that is for the program.
It's very big to get 2 top 10 programs in our arena, number 1, number 6. There are 2 programs that a lot of people know about, and to have them in our arena is great. It's good for recruits to be able to see on TV, free publicity for us for recruiting, and it'll be exciting for me because I'm definitely going to try to come watch those games.
Yeah, we got to find a way to get it snuck in.
Yeah, I'm going to try to sneak in.
I do need a timeout coordinator. If you'd be interested in sitting on the table doing timeout coordinator.
I would love to do that.
Okay, good. So before we get into the X's O's of your Florida Southwestern State program, talk a little bit about what makes FSW so special. You know, you've been at a couple different levels as a coach, a couple different places, Division I level, other junior colleges around the country. What makes FSW what it is?
Yeah, I think it's one of the best junior colleges, if not the best in the country. From our facilities to just being in Florida, you were not far from the beach, but just FSW alone, like I said, the arena is nice, our weight room, just everything about it. The people are nice. I can't say enough about it. I mean, it's the Division I school I used to be at will probably get mad at me saying this, but this is actually a better school than the school I was at, and I won't name that school.
Do not look on his bio for that school. Yeah, we have a volleyball player going to be signing Division I on Thursday.
Awesome.
She called Coach B while she was on her visit and said, "Coach, I have to share my room with another player."
Yeah.
And obviously here at FSW, our kids get their own room,
Yeah.
so definitely a D1 feel
For sure.
for most of our kids. I've had multiple Division I coaches come in and say to me, "How in the world am I going to recruit your players to my mid-major program when this is what they get every day?" So certainly a special place. Kind of building on that question a little bit, your team spent 10 weeks as the number 1 ranked team in the country over the past 2 seasons, 59-5 overall record. Almost kind of crazy to hear that said. But what has been the sustained success? What's been the model for that, other than you coming in as an assistant coach?
Mm-hmm.
But what's been able to keep that success over the last couple of years?
Yeah, well, all the credit to Coach Murphy. He has done a great job of just preparing our guys. He's very detail-oriented. He's always prepared, and that just trickles down onto the other guys. They see his tenacity, his fight, his grit. He's a tough-minded coach, and the fact that he's that way, it just trickles down, and the guys know what to expect, and it just carries over onto the court.
Great answer. Filling in for your boss on the show, give him the shout out.
Got to.
Great assistant coach.
Got to.
Right there.
Got to.
Now turning the page a little bit to this season, your team coming off a scrimmage on Saturday up at St. Petersburg. Talk about some things that you liked that your program did, players, anything a player did specifically, or just as a system, what you liked there, and maybe some things you think your team could work on.
So a few things we did well is late in the game. As a coaching staff, we didn't feel like we played great throughout the whole game, but late in the game, we played the way we think we can play. We got up and pressured. We got a lot of offensive rebounds and putbacks. So those were the positive things late. Things we definitely need to improve on, which we worked on in practice this morning, was our defense. We got to get better to understanding our principles, our defensive principles, and the way we play here at FSW. That's kind of what's led to our success in previous years and why our record the way it was, is because guys have bought into how we play defensively. So if we can improve on that going forward, we'll be even better.
Would you say typically that probably is the area that's the most difficult to get a full buy-in from players? Because on the stat sheet, obviously points, rebounds, assists, steals, block shots, all that good stuff shows up. On the highlight reels, the dunks and all the big plays like that show up. On the defensive end, it's a little bit harder to quantify that, when you're looking at a box score at the end of the game, or when you're reading a story about a game, or even on a highlight tape. So would you say typically that's the hardest place to get your players buy-in?
Definitely. And I think that's across the board, across the country. Freshmen definitely coming in, they're thinking score. That's where they came from in high school, And we pretty much you pretty much recruit on can a guy score.
Right.
And then when they get here, then you got to figure out and try to get them to play defense. So that's definitely the biggest buy-in. And once they do buy in, they see the success. And we tell a lot of our freshmen, or pretty much all our freshmen, the way you will get on the court, not only here but moving on to the next program, is defense. So, again, that leads to why we've had the success we've had, because once guys really bought in and finally bought in, they see the success and then we win games. So.
Probably a little bit more difficult this year for you guys, just not as many players coming back into the fold, moving 8 guys onto the Division I level last year, so a pretty young program as far as experience-wise. So hopefully that'll come along here in the next couple months or so.
Yeah, a lot of new guys, so it's been a lot more guys that we've had to get to buy in. We've had to pull up tape 2 years ago just to kind of show them, hey, this is what these guys did, this is why they were so good. So hopefully it'll show.
Couple months under your belt now of fall practice, couple months till we play our first game. What would you say so far this fall, players and or things that your team has improved on the most since you guys first started this fall?
Player-wise, we've had a few freshmen that, for example, one of our freshmen, Rajan Blackwell, he was a kid that came in. We recruited him pretty hard. He turned out some D1s to come to us. He's tried to figure out the point guard position. He's always been a guy that's been a scorer. But here, as of late, the past couple of weeks, he's turned into kind of a pure point guard where he's looked for other guys before himself. So he's been a guy that's really improved. Kario Kendo, he's kind of a highly touted kid that we're going to need to play well for us. He's improved a lot just as far as his toughness. Early on, I would say he would have been a guy that was not maybe the toughest, but he's actually shown some toughness here as of late. He's been a guy that's improved. I mean, pretty much everybody across the board has improved. I mean, we put in so much time that if you're not improving, then there's a problem because the amount of time we put in and invest in our guys. So.
What about as a team? Have there been any specific areas, other than maybe defense, continue to matriculate that you've seen a big improvement over the last couple of months?
Yeah, I would just say sharing the basketball and just kind of knowing how to play within our offense. Once we run a set and the offense breaks down, what do you do after that? And a lot of times early on, guys weren't really knowing what to do. They didn't know when to pass, where to pass, and guys have really improved on just kind of becoming together as a team.
On Saturday, anybody particular that stood out, either on the stat sheet or just in general for you?
2 guys that we expect to be playing well for us, Terry Roberts and Kario Kendo again. They led us in scoring. They both had double figures. But we're going to need another guy to kind of come along and give us that third punch. I think, and we've talked about this as a staff, in the past 2 years, we've always had a third and maybe even fourth guy that was a scorer. It's kind of hard to win. I mean, you can win with 2 guys scoring a lot, but, if those 2 guys are off, who's going to be our third or fourth guy? So, but yeah, definitely Terrio and Kario really stood out the most.
About 2 months until tip-off of the 2021 season. We can't even say 2020, 2021.
Yeah,
we just got to say 21.
Yeah.
So about 2 months away now from tip-off of that. What does your team's schedule look like up until that point? So a lot of holiday breaks coming in now, and obviously you come back for the second semester. But what's the team's general schedule look like as far as workouts, team practices, things like that before that point?
Yeah, so pretty much Monday through Friday we're working out. We go in the mornings, 7:30, then we come back in the afternoon, do weights, and then we have practice. And we'll pretty much do that up until they can leave to go home. And then when we come back, we have really only 2 full weeks until our first game. So we got to come back ready to go because when we let them go home in December, they're off a whole month. So they're going to have to be working out on their own, staying in shape. Because when we get back, we're hitting the ground running. So we have to be ready. It's very important that we know what we're doing, not only as a staff, but as our team needs to know what they're doing as far as our offense, defense, and just knowing how we play.
How different and maybe even a little bit scary is that for you? Normally you have kids up until the break, you're playing games until then. They might have a week, 10 days off. You come back, play that classic right after the holidays to get back ready for conference play. This year, it's show back up, and in 2 weeks we're starting the season. Yeah. How different is that? And maybe, what are some things that you guys are really going to have to adjust to, just building upon what you just talked about?
Yeah, me and Coach Murphy were just talking about that the other day about, we just basically finished our first our 4th complete game, I guess. We've had 2 inter-squad scrimmages. We scrimmaged 2 weeks ago, and then this past Saturday. So there's not as much game reps that a lot of our new guys are getting. So we've even talked about, we're going to have to scrimmage a lot more inter squad up until our game days, just because, these freshmen need to get game reps to kind of see what it's like to play in an actual game. Because even this past Saturday, you could tell some guys who were just kind of getting their feet wet. So it's going to be very important. It's very odd. We've even talked about, we're still where we want to be with our team as far as to this date. But it's definitely different. I mean, I still am trying to get used to it. It's very odd, but I think we'll get through it. We're a tough team. We'll build the team, and I think we'll be fine.
Well, they always say it's hard to replicate game speed in practice.
It is.
You always hear them talk about that in the NFL with new quarterbacks and things like that. Yeah, it's easy when you're wearing that red jersey and nobody can touch you and you're completing a pass. A little different when there's 5 guys coming at you trying to take your head off.
Definitely.
Now we're going to turn it away from the court a little bit, get to know your players maybe outside of their jersey numbers on the floor. We're going to call this little segment here, Which Buck Is It, okay? So I'm going to ask you a certain question, and you're going to have to name which player on your team. You can even go to the staff if you want. If you want to drop one of the staff guys in this, one of the other coaches, and we'll see which Buck matches the question the best, okay?
All right.
You ready for that?
I'm ready.
All right. First one. This should be an easy one. Which Buck is the best dunker on the team?
Cario.
Cario Kendo, okay? Which Buck is the best trash talker? And unfortunately, we don't have Jermaine Marshall this year. You would be number one.
He would definitely win.
This year, who's the best trash talker during practice?
I would say Terry Roberts.
Terry, okay, sophomore. He's backed it up a little bit.
Yeah.
So, which Buck is the quietest?
Definitely Jaden Campbell. Murph has a saying for Jaden. He calls him Shy Guy.
Okay.
Because he's just so chill, laid back, soft-spoken. Very good kid, but just very quiet. So we have to get him to talk on the floor.
So it's kind of funny because him and Terry hang out a lot together.
They do.
So you got best trash talker and quietest guy hanging out together. So Terry needs to teach him a little bit there.
He does.
Loosen him up a little bit. And maybe Jay needs to quiet Terry down a little bit every once in a while. Which Buck is the funniest?
I would say CJ Lane. CJ Lane is a comedian. Like, he rides on my van when I drive to the games, and he's just funny. Like, anything he says, his voice is funny in general. So I'd say he's one of the funniest.
Okay, that surprised me a little bit. I like that answer. Which Buck, this one, hopefully it's not very many guys on this list. Which Buck is most likely to be late?
All of them. No, I'm joking. CJ Jackson.
CJ Jackson.
CJ is a funny kid, but I would say he's probably...
He needs to set the clock forward.
He needs to set his clock. Yeah, he needs to change his time.
Okay. Which Buck's the best student?
Definitely Jovan.
Jovan, new guy, Canterbury kid.
Canterbury, he has all A's and 1B right now. So,
good for him.
Yeah.
Atta boy.
Only kid that doesn't have to come to study hall.
Good. Which Buck is the best dancer?
Wow.
You put the music on during practice, after practice. Who's getting down, busting a move a little bit?
I would say...
you know this is going to be contested. No matter how you answer this, they're going to talk about Modibo, the big guy.
Modibo.
Big 7-footer can dance a little bit. I like that. That's good for footwork, right?
It is.
Footwork in the paint. Your big guy can dance. That's great. Which Buck has the best style? You can't give yourself that one.
Yeah, you can't do that. Wow, I don't know. Rajon Blackwell.
Okay, Rajon.
Yeah.
What about the coaching staff best style?
I would say me, but then Paez next.
I was going to go Paez, but I like your style too, Kente. Okay. Which Buck, this is a funny question, okay. Which Buck was the hardest to recruit? Like, who was the guy you really had to put the screws to get to sign on the dotted line?
I would say John Anyos.
Okay.
He was trying to decide whether to stay Division I or come junior college. So he was the hardest.
Okay.
But it's amazing because it's been a blessing for all of them because they get their year back now. So it's actually turned out fine for them.
All right, last one. Which Buck would you let cook for you? You have to answer. You can't say no. And you can't use a coach on this one. You have to use one of the players.
I would say Modibo.
Modibo.
Yeah.
Best dancer and best cook. That's impressive for a
I heard he
7
has a
footer.
nice African dish that he makes that's pretty good.
All right, we'll have to get the recipe from him on that sometime.
Definitely.
We always end this segment with food things. Usually I say, would you rather cook or would you rather clean afterwards? So, what would you go on that
I'd
one?
rather clean.
You'd rather clean
Yeah.
afterwards, let somebody cook?
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good. That's it. That's our Bucs off the court there in our Which Buck Is It segment. We'll go with that for this round of Coaches Show interviews with our other coaches. And that's the show for this week. So, Coach, we appreciate you joining us on this one, filling in for Coach Murphy. Thank you, everybody, for watching this week's edition of the FSW Coaches Show here at Florida Southwestern State College. Make sure to check back next Monday as we talk to head softball coach Robert Iamuri. You can find those interviews at FSW Bucs on social media or fswbucks.com online. So thanks again for watching. Have a great day. Go Bucs.